So, the Two Embers was really something, huh? Hello, I'm Badshaw, and today we're going to talk about Sky the Two Embers, and how I think it fares in the wider Sky universe. In general, I will not be using any clips from the show, so I will instead be using clips from the game for the in-game season. So, let's get started. We start out in episode 1, where we see a flashback of the Dusk Ember, playing with the parent. I believe fully that the Dusk Ember is meant to represent Hopeful Steward. I do not think it is a coincidence that they have the exact same hair, clothing, and personality. So I will be calling them Hopeful Steward from now on. Hopeful Steward lives a destitute life in the last city, which is what remains of the Sky World, as the other realms are not mentioned. We see the Darkstone sickness slowly spread throughout the ancestors, while the Vault Elder is puzzled on what to do with it. The Hopeful Steward meets the Manatee and befriends them, and, with the help of an old man, they go down to the underground base, where they help heal the Manatee with a candle. We also see a scene of the Ruler, deep in Eden, trying to do something with the Eden Diamond, causing some form of strange darkness to spread throughout the kingdom. Overall, I think episode 1 is a bit rushed. I feel like there's too many plot points that are kind of strewn around, but I think it's a great introduction to the Sky World before it collapsed, and I like how they show the dynamic between Hopeful Steward and the Manatee. For the second episode, we start off with a time skip, as the Manatee has grown bigger. However, I don't really think the time skip was necessary. I feel like having them just show the Manatee immediately after episode 1 would be a good idea, because I don't think the time skip really does anything to the plot. I think it's better if it's all in like one continuous sequence. Maybe it all happened within just a few days, because it really allows the story to be more continuous and be better paced. As of now, I feel like the break between episode 1 and 2 is a bit jarring, and it's very ambiguous through how much time has actually passed. We then see the guards sucking up light from the ground with a Darkstone machine. These machines will become very important later, so it's a good thing that they set this up now. Then, we see the Hopeful Steward collecting particles of light to forge a candle. This will become quite important later on, but I still like how they explore this game mechanic in an actual in-universe way. The Hopeful Steward trades with a strange merchant to get a fin for their Manatee, an artificial prosthetic fin that can help them a little bit in their flight. And then, we see the storm slowly approaching, as, eventually, the entire city is doomed to fall. In general, episode 2 is the least interesting out of the 4. It is extremely short compared to the others, and not much of note goes on besides foreshadowing for the other episodes. And in general, I feel like it could have been a lot better paced as well, and maybe have some of these scenes cut or rearranged, or even move into different episodes. However, episode 3 is a lot better. It's a really, really huge step up in quality from the first 2 episodes, and I like how it immediately shows the Ruler's perspective in all this. For example, the intro credits appear when it zooms out from the Ruler, and the ominous music playing. That's a perfect start to the episode. I like the idea of Darkstone keeping the Krills at bay. It gives a lot of lore to the turrets, because originally I thought they were offensive, but it seems now they're using for defensive purposes. I really like the imagery of the creeping storm, and how it slowly advances to Eden, as if the shattering is inevitable, and eventually everything is going to fall. It's like the darkness slowly creeps in throughout the course of the episode, and it's a very amazing imagery. The Manatee's death is not really that shocking. I predicted it. However, it's still unbelievably sad and tragic. I did not expect it to be that slow and dark and depressing, and what I really didn't expect is Hopeful Steward becoming angry and almost vengeful at that death. There's this kind of like Lord of the Rings moment as they slowly walk up and they pick up the shard and stare up at the king, and it's really an amazing scene. And I like how Wasteland is slowly crumbling all around Hopeful Steward without them even caring. It's the kind of like a very epic and almost majestic view. Oh, it's not majestic for the Wasteland citizens, of course, but it's majestic for the viewers, because it really feels like, holy crap, how much have we lost? Yeah, episode 3 is the one I'm most excited about. However, I think episode 4 is where Sky the Two Embers really hits a peak in terms of emotional quality. Episode 4 starts with Hopeful Steward rushing their way up to the Vault of Knowledge. Eventually, the Vault Elder notices them and realizes their plight. And also, we get a new ability showcased where the Vault Elder could be able to look into people's memories. I wonder if this is connected to Sky Kids being able to view the memories of spirits. Just a theory. The whole scene of the child slowly climbing the vault was very beautiful. And although it's ambiguous to what actually happened, I do have a theory. I think Hopeful Steward was able to ascend the manatee, or at least somehow preserve the memories or make sure they still live on. For example, when the manatee turns yellow and turns into like yellow spark of light, I think that really shows how the manatee is still around in memory and in soul. And this allows Hopeful Steward to realize that the light is about memory and connection and all that stuff, and gets them less violent and causes them to renounce their vengeful ways and climb back down to share the candle. In the end, this shows how Hopeful Steward is really a Sky Kid at heart. They don't care about murder or vengeance or violence anymore. Instead, they're focused on preserving the light through connection and sympathy. There's still some mysteries left, but I like how it's kind of a cliffhanger. And obviously, we can talk about the non-plot elements of it. It's all amazing. There's the facial expressions, the animation style, the music. I mean, all of it's so incredible. Let's just go through them one by one. So the expressions and movements of the characters are amazing. And I love how they're able to show so much emotional depth without uttering a single word. That being said, I do wonder if it's a bit esoteric for new players who don't really understand what's going on. There are some scenes, for example, where the Vault Elder just ominously stares at the ruler that I feel like could have some narration sprinkled in to help explain what's happening to people who are a bit clueless about the lore. Because overall, I think Two Embers could be better explained and communicated to the wider world. The animation style is incredible, and I love how they're able to meld 3D and 2D styles to create a very unique animation style. I also love how faithful they were to Sky, Children of the Light's environments and imagery, and still preserve those themes and visuals in the process. Finally, the music is incredible. It doesn't really have any direct references to Sky's musical tracks, however, it captures the instrumentation and emotion of Sky's music incredibly. The final scene where the vocals were there and it slowly fades out into the stars is like comparable to the best, most emotional moments of Sky Children of the Light. And in general, that's how I would say the Two Embers is. It's a very, very faithful adaptation of Sky Children of the Light on the big screen, showcasing a never before seen story that we still know quite a lot about from background lore. I like how they preserved some mysteries and still made sure there's still some unexplained elements in Sky's world. I think that's an important thing for them to do in order to not just give away all of Sky lore. However, the release and promotion of Sky the Two Embers is the worst part about it by far. I really like all the other aspects, but this is the one part that really sinks it for me. First, we should talk about how it's not allowed on YouTube. Or in reality, the better explanation would be that TGC purposefully restricted it. Because why would they not be allowed to upload it on YouTube? What reason would there be? Some people say copyright, but TGC owns the Two Embers. They made it by themselves, they have their own IP, so why are they restricting it in-game? And of course, the in-game experience is terrible. It's not even available on all platforms, and viewing it is extremely annoying, hard to understand without a guide, and just looks and sounds terrible. The audio and visual quality is much lower than anyone would want it to be. I just don't understand why they made the decisions they did to have it only available in-game. There are also exclusive content with exclusive film-only scenes with exclusive narrators in exclusive languages. I don't understand why TGC is so restrictive and exclusive with the content, just to make Two Embers the least watched show ever. If they just put it on YouTube, it would gain traction, not from old fans, but also from new players or people who haven't even done Sky stuff before. It would be a great introduction to Sky as a whole. But instead, they have to limit it to make sure only the most hardcore fans could even watch it. And I, as a hardcore fan, do not support the decision. Despite my complaints about the release and promotion of the Two Embers, it's an amazing show that really demonstrates the creative capability of TGC. I hope that part 2 is just as good, and I'm excited to see the future of Sky in this new multimedia franchise. Oh yeah, I guess it's a multimedia franchise, because it has both a TV show and a game now. I guess that's cool. Anyway, see you around.